work for Europe, baby.
Albert, what's going on?
You mean in our shop?
Yeah, it sounds like you were busy this week.
Yeah, we were. We finished our last two power hammer foundations. So we poured 40 tons of concrete for our last two power hammers. And we've been grinding concrete all day. So pouring concrete and grinding, that was my day. And basically the last week.
What do you mean grinding?
Yeah, you have to level it with the rest of the floor, right? So
Yeah.
we have a big ass machine to level it with the rest of the floor in our shop. That's what we did, because you have to wait for it to dry somewhat, but it must not be too dry. So you have to wait, grind. That's what we did today.
So in the meantime, your shop's still pretty much empty because of all the dust and shit that makes?
Yeah, we had to move the machines again today because we had a class last week and we used our power hammers to make a barrier so that people do not fall into the big ass holes we dug. Yeah. So we used our power hammers to make a barrier, and now we had to move all the machines and the power hammers and the shear and everything out of the shop again today. So we did that today because the concrete arrived today at 2:30. And we were kind of lucky because we got the foam yesterday, and today was the last day before Christmas and the holidays for the concrete to be delivered. So we got the concrete today on the last day before the holidays. That's why it was a bit stressful, because yesterday night we had to, since we got the foam yesterday, we had to make the foam isolation and the foil and everything yesterday. Yeah, so it was kind of stressful, but now we're done, luckily. So we have to wait for 2 to 3 weeks now before we can put the power hammers on the foundations and bolt them to the floor. But then we're all set, luckily.
So the
finally.
rest of your shop, you can put together, and the other power hand is on the old foundations and get stuff back into order.
Yeah, so we can put them on there the next week or something, but we can't forge until I think 2 or 3 weeks. So we have to wait for the concrete to be completely dry, but we can move the machines where they're supposed to be within the next 1 or 2 weeks. We might not be able to forge for the next 3 weeks with the big power hammers.
I saw you put a couple little hidden treasures into the concrete.
Yeah, that was knife planks. Not really knife planks, but it was just mild steel, so like templates we have.
Yeah.
And we thought about throwing like hardened blades in there, like blades we broke or blades that we're not happy with. But then we did some thinking, and it's not a very good idea because we have to bolt down the power hammers at some point, and that there shouldn't be any hardened blades underneath.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, that would suck. So we went for mild steel templates. We threw in there. Yeah.
Yeah, if you start drilling an exact hole for the forge and hit some hardened Apex Ultra, and the bit starts sliding off to the side on you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what. But with mild steel, this shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
So we threw in some mild steel planks or templates, to be precise. Yeah, that's what we did like last week, and we've been working on the foundations for the last 2 weeks, as you guys know. But now we're finally done, so that's the last foundations we're gonna make, and then we're all set. So we have to fix our 100 kilo Bishop power hammer, and then the 150 kilo Bishop is working. Then we're all set, finally. Yeah. So that was my weekend, and building knives and doing classes and Christmas presents. So we did some brute to forge steak knives for our friends from down the road, the laser cutting guys. They got like their Christmas presents today. That's what we've been doing. Yeah. What's up with your week?
I'm sick right now, so hopefully I don't sound like a dragon breathing into the microphone.
No, you're not. But how sick are you?
Yeah, I'm alright. Just stuffy and got a snots running out of my nose the whole time.
Is it like a cold? Or what?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, I went to a Christmas market with the family. Like I said, the last episode, my parents are here visiting, and it was an old castle not too far away from here in Brownow.
Yeah.
And there was a knife maker in the basement, and had some pretty decent looking knives out on the table, forged with copper Damascus and like some kind of a carbon steel core. And so I went down, talked to the guy a little bit about the materials he had, and told him about my shop and stuff. Said he had never heard of me, and so asked him if I could pick up his knife and looking at it, and so what kind of steel did you use? And he was like, oh, that's a carbon steel core. I'm like, yeah, what steel is it? And he's like, well, I don't quite remember what it was. And I was like, oh, how about the other stuff? That's copper Damascus. And I'm like, so, and you made it all? He's like, yeah, I forged it in my shop. But he didn't know what kind of steel it was. And if you're forging in copper Damascus, I'm pretty sure you know what steel you're using. So, I'm guessing he's buying his steel from somebody
I think so
already
too.
finished.
Do you remember his name?
I don't. I have his business card. I can send it to you later. I wouldn't shout him all in the air anyway. That's his business, whatever
Okay.
he's doing. But
Oh, okay. Okay.
uh,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
always kind of weird when people claim that they forged Damascus themselves and they don't even know what kind of steel they use, right? That's
right.
weird. Yeah,
Copper's not
I
the
agree.
not the easiest thing to forge, so you would definitely know what you're using.
No, yeah, you have to be very precise with the temperature when you're
Mm.
doing copper Damascus. So when we do copper Damascus or Kumai, we use our heat treatment oven, not the gas forge, for forge welding, because it's super easy to overheat the copper so that it gets liquid, right? So you have to be very accurate with your temperature control when you're doing copper Damascus.
So you use it just
It's
to
a
set the welds, or through the whole process of forging it?
No, just to set the welds, because then you can. Then we use the gas forge at a lower heat for drawing out the billet, because once
Mm.
the forge weld, I mean, it's not really forge welding because it's not steel, it's copper, right? So it's solid state fusion, or what's it? I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
We use the gas forge for drawing out the billet, but for the forge welds, we always use the heat treatment oven. Of course, it takes longer, but the temperature is much more precise than in the gas forge.
Yeah.
That's why we use it when we do copper Damascus. Yeah, because we've screwed up billets as well, right? So
Yeah, I think
once it's
everybody has when they first
once
start out.
once it's too hot, I mean the copper gets all liquid and then nothing's left in the billet. So um, yeah,
Oh, and I got a special delivery of VSM belts from Messerschmitt,
yeah, we
Southbrick
sent you some,
Messerschmitt. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if the listeners know that you even sell belts.
I
What
think
what what are you offering?
we're offering VSM ceramic belts. I think what's it's called, XK 870 or something.
Yeah.
Um, that's what we're selling. I mean, that's the belt we use ourselves. That's why we have them in our shop, and that's the uh, so they're pretty affordable compared to other belts like 3M belts. So that's why we use them, and they last um, not as long as Cubitron belts, but for the money, they're a better choice in our opinion. So that's why we sell them. Yeah. We get a pretty good deal with VSM because we buy so many belts from them. We buy belts nowadays in on pallets, right? So
Yeah,
it's not just 10 or 20 belts but we buy pallets of belts. So
that makes
yeah.
more sense. And
Yeah.
if you don't sell them, you're gonna use them anyway with all the courses and stuff you guys are doing. So.
Exactly. That's why we thought that we might just we might start selling them as well. But as Matt always said, there's no money in belts, right? Because belts
Yeah.
are so cheap. You can find an online shop where you pay as much as we have to charge for belts. So we're not making any money off the belts, but it's still a nice add-on to our shop, I think. So, and we have quite a number of knife makers who buy belts from us now, because it's not that easy to get a to get into contact with VSM and get them directly from VSM.
Hmm.
But since we buy so much of these, they made us a good deal. Yeah. But
Yeah. So
how many did you buy? Like 50, right?
I think I bought like 60 or 80, and 20 of them you guys had to head on back over or something. They'll be, it's enough to get me going for another year and a half.
You need them for yourself then, or for your own knife making.
Yeah. So speaking of knife making, we have another knife maker on the show with us tonight.
How do you pronounce your name?
My name is Koray, in my real name, but my brand name is Idamai Forge. It comes from the Idamai Mountains, and Mai means, how do you say, layer in Japanese, and forge. So Ida Mountains and Mai Forge.
Where are you located?
It's on the coast of Aegean Sea in Turkey, on the north part, in Balıkesir, Turkey. How would you pronounce my brand name if it were you?
No, I would have said Koray.
Yeah, I meant the Idamai Forge.
Idamai Forge, yeah.
But it's Koray. It's a common name. Some people say Koray.
No, I would have said Koray. But how's your last name pronounced? Yavaş?
Yeah, Yavaş.
Yavaş. So
you pronounce really good, by the way.
So the emphasis is on the first A. Or can you say it again?
Koray Yavaş.
Yavaş. Okay.
Yeah, it means slow.
It means small, really?
Slow.
Slow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yavaş. Does Koray also have a meaning?
It comes from the red moon on the sky, you know.
Yeah.
The amber colored. It means the amber moon.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to play with the coal forge a lot. I don't know if it's linked in a way.
But it has a very nice ring to it, the name Koray Yavaş, I think.
I don't know. I hear it all the time.
And of course you do. But for a German-speaking person, it has a very nice ring to it because it's a very. I mean, of course, it's very uncommon, right? Or not.
It's nice to hear, I think.
Yeah.
I was born in Germany, by the way.
Really? Where?
Yeah. Landshut.
So you were born in Germany and then you moved to Turkey?
Yeah, my parents are Turkish and I was raised in Turkey. I wish they had taught me a little bit German, but they didn't.
But do they speak German, your parents?
My mother does a lot, but my father doesn't.
Why have they been to Germany for work?
Yeah, their parents moved to Germany years ago, in like 70s.
Okay. And then they moved back to Turkey.
Because living in a foreign country was hard for them, I think.
Of course, I think it always is, isn't it?
It has its own challenges.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I really want to come and see there around Munich and Bayern. Maybe go to Austria because it's so close.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Do you live in Austria?
I do, yeah. Actually, close to the German border.
Yeah.
It's a 90 minutes drive to Munich from to my place. So
really?
It's very close. Yeah. And Austria is better anyway. So Germany. You know that there is this rivalry between Austria and Germany.
I'm sure there is.
Because we're both German-speaking countries, right? And we're neighbors. Germany is way bigger, so there's this bigger brother complex.
Bigger brother, yeah.
But we have most of the mountains, so that's why our country is more beautiful than theirs. So.
I cannot say anything about it because even in cities, in some parts, people are fighting about these kind of things.
Yeah, but we're just saying it for the fun of it, right? So we're not being serious. So
yeah, in a fun way.
Did you ever go back to Germany after you've left?
One time with my contract on a ship to Hamburg.
Yeah, okay.
So did you get some good content while I was gone?
We were talking about Germany and Austria and why Austria is way better than Germany.
Even Matt thinks so.
Yeah, everyone does.
So, where were we again?
I was introducing myself.
So Koray introduced himself. He told us how to pronounce his name. It's Koray Yavaş. He lives in, is it northern Turkey, right?
Northern west, I think.
West.
Okay.
Yeah, northwest at the foot or on one of the famous mountains, right?
Yeah, Ida Mountains, the old, antique Greek mythologic mountain. Not the Olympus one, but Ida one.
Supposedly the home of Zeus himself, I believe.
Yeah, we had an altar of him.
And so you're forging with a beautiful background, nice view where you are.
At the skirts of Ida Mountains.
So tell us a little bit about your workshop, your forge. What kind of equipment are you using in there?
I was lucky about my workshop because I got it from my father. He was doing some forge work here in Edremit, Balıkesir. I was born into that workshop in a way. He didn't make me or my brother work in the workshop, but we were always going there and watching him forging hot steel in his power hammer and his anvil. So we were curious about him, and we picked the hammer one day and tried to do things. It's been almost 20 or 25 years since first I got the hammer in my hand and made a blade out of it.
So was your father making blades too,
No.
or like ornamental stuff?
No, he was doing forge, like doors, windows, and staircases, like the oriented Baroque works. But I was more into the blade thing. One day he showed me a book, Damaszener Stahl, that he got from Germany when he was living in Germany. It was in German, so I didn't understand a thing. But the pictures were about Damascus steel, the pattern welded ones. And I said to my father, what are these? Are these one kind of steel? And he said, I tried a few times and couldn't do it. So you try yourself. And the story begins.
So you and your brother decided to try it, or
No, me alone.
was it more?
I was the crazy one.
And that do you have the power hammer that you have? I think I saw it in a couple of videos.
From 1963 from Czechoslovakia. It's an old power hammer. It's mechanical, not pneumatic. I wish I had a pneumatic one, but this works a lot too.
So it has like a car leaf spring on the top, right? That kind of setup.
In a way, yeah. And the old springs were broken, so I made new ones and quenched, tempered all the parts and reassembled the springs, and it's just working fine. Better than before, I think.
So Albert is our power hammer expert. Do you know this power hammer, Albert? Have you seen it?
Yeah,
on his
sure.
Page?
It's a I'm looking at it right now. It's a spring hammer. It's very similar to what we have here. Very similar to an Ajax spring hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a really old one.
And they're very common in old blacksmith shops because you can do a lot of like ornamental forging with it, right? The ram weight is kind of low because you don't need a lot of ram weight for like ornamental forging.
Yeah.
So, and it's a very quiet machine because it doesn't make any noise unless you're actually forging with it, right? So
yeah, it still makes noise, but it has a 40 kilograms hammer.
ram, yeah.
And you can adjust the speed or the arm length by the bolts, and you can work it differently than pneumatic power hammers.
Noise-wise, the difference is a pneumatic power hammer always is generating noise, even if you're not forging with it, right? So, but the spring hammer only makes noise when you're actually using it.
Only the electric motor.
Yeah, only the motor, of course, but yeah. That's a very useful machine.
And I have a hydraulic press too, but it's not that powerful, so I'm not using it very much. I'm building my own rolling mill right now. I have a sketch of it. I don't know if he patented it, but I'm inspiring from Tobin's rolling mill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From Tobin Machines.
That's a very nice machine.
Yeah, that's a very nice machine. In a way, I'm copying his machine, but I think it's more of an inspiration between engineers. Because I like to build my own stuff. Like I talk with you kids Now I'm changing my propane gas forge to ribbon forge. I casted two molds, but they both cracked a little bit. I'm struggling in there, but everything is going okay for now. I like to experiment.
What kind of hydraulic press do you own?
The parts are dismantled from ships in Izmir, Aliağa. There's a shipwreckage facility there, and my father went there about like 25 years ago and collected some hydraulic parts. While he was working in Germany, he was working in Bayerische Motorwerke. He was a hydraulics technician, and he assembled the parts he gathered from the shipwreck facility, then made a hydraulic press for himself.
Nice. How much pressure does it generate? Do you know that?
I'm not sure, but I think 100 tons.
Oh, really? 100 tons?
But I'm not sure. Maybe less. Maybe that's just the PSI.
Okay. What do you use it for, the press?
For my mokumagane mostly, because when you were talking in the beginning of the podcast, copper needs more precise temperature control. So I'm heating my mokumagane parts in my electric kiln oven, and then press them under the hydraulic press.
How do you do the forge welding on your steel?
By forging.
Yeah, but under the hammer or under the press? Where do you do the forge welding?
Firstly under the hammer.
Okay.
With the anvil, just little taps for a few times, just to be sure about the surfaces to be kissed, and then little presses on the hydraulic press, and it doesn't move the steel much because it doesn't have a strong capacity. So I'm moving to power hammer.
And are you using borax or are you welding it completely shut? How do you do your Damascus?
I'm doing my Damascus in a canister.
Canister.
Yeah,
okay.
I have some photographs of it in my page on Instagram. But I have a mix of borax, ammonium chloride, boric acid, some iron powder mix that I pour it into the canister and close it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the chromium oxide is hard to get rid of. And I'm always using alloy steels, and I know the composition of the steel I'm using. Yeah, I sometimes use spring steels that I got from some places, like broken springs. I'm sure you are using them too sometimes. I don't know the exact composition of that, but other than that, I always get my certificate with the steels.
So is material and steels difficult to get a hold of, or do you just like using recycled steels when you can?
At the beginning, I used recycled steel, but now I'm not using. Just on the, if I'm using a Sanmai blade, if I'm going to make a Sanmai blade that has a Damascus outer layer, I'm using that Damascus with spring steel, recycled steel, because it's tough, hardenable, and cheap. And I'm not using that on the cutting part.
Because we did a deal one time with Apex Ultra trying to get some to you, and it turned out to be very expensive for you to get it.
Yeah, because all of the taxes in Turkey, you were selling them for like 45 euros per kilo, and I got them for like 65 or 70 euros per kilogram.
Yeah, I think you had to make like 3 or 4 payments because you weren't allowed to make over 200 euros at a time payments or something like that. And then you get bank fees and then import fees.
I forget about that.
Yeah.
I even
such a hassle.
Yeah, I even tried to send you the money in a few times.
Yeah.
That's just the Turkey.
Well, it's Apex Ultra, and you're using it for the center steel, for the core steel, I guess. So you don't have to use a whole lot. So I hope you could get a lot of knives out of it.
I still have several kilos of Apex Ultra, but right now I'm waiting a call from the company that I'm working on as a marine engineer. So I'm not working on new projects, but I really miss forging stuff.
So your day job is, or your normal job, I think you're on fishing boats or something, or you were?
Not fishing boats, but as a profession, I graduated from university as a marine engineer. So I work on merchant ships, currently on chemical tankers, as ocean-going watch-keeping engineer.
So you're the guy that has to make sure the boat keeps running and gets you guys where you need to be.
From port A to port B, the engines must be running. And we are the persons that's carrying out that job, always monitoring and doing repair while sailing.
That must be a pretty interesting job. I'm sure you have some crazy stories.
Yeah, some storm stories, some drunken port stories, everything.
So you got to use whatever you can find on the boat to get that motor running again.
Yeah, in a way, we always have the spare parts, but if it were to manufacture, we are gonna sink, I think. You cannot manufacture some parts, but you just band-aid things and make it work.
Have you ever had to forge a part on the ship to get the motor running? No.
Sometimes my senior engineers are asking for me to forge a knife for them on the ship from a bearing that we dismantled from an electric motor. And I say, yeah, I can forge it with the acetylene oxygen torch. And we have a small anvil on the ship. But that's not the way.
So I think bearing steel is difficult to forge, isn't it? Without it cracking on you and stuff? Is it?
Not as much as Apex Ultra. Funny story. Do you know Thomas Ward?
No.
No.
He has an account named Tempest Craft. I went to Istanbul for an integral knife class from him. He has an ABS bladesmith from America. Has a workshop in Istanbul.
Yes.
And I brought some Apex thick stock with me to him. And that was his first time forging Apex. And he said, oh yeah, this thing is hard. And after finishing it, he almost completed the knife. And he says, the steel is gnarly.
It's gnarly.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Was he able to finish the knife though?
Yeah, he finished it.
Yeah.
He posted it.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably since that time it's been, and I know it's still hard to get in the US because a lot of people still write to me and ask if I can ship it to the US, but they do get it in batches here and there and it usually sells out quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure. A few people in Turkey asked me about where did you get Apex Ultra, and I said knife material.
Yeah.
But they said, yeah, but the taxes are so high, yeah, and I said it made me crazy about how much I paid, and I'm not selling from my own stock. Do your best.
Well, for my main job, we actually have a lot of customers from Turkey, and they go back and forth a lot. So maybe we can work something out. We can get some people to bring it home for you in the car, and then you'll have to get it shipped from his house.
My mother lives in Munich, and I think she can swing by here next time she's coming here. And I saw some thinner stocks online.
Okay.
How thick was them? 3.2?
Yes, we have I think it's 2.5 and 3.6.
Yeah. I really want to get my hands on them too, but after I come back from ship.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're doing Sanmai, Albert, maybe you can clarify it a little bit with the 5mm, how you make it work, because usually you want that core steel to be a third of the total dimension of your forging stock, right? If you're doing a Sanmai.
I mean, our ratio is a bit different. We use 10 millimeters on either side for cladding and 5 mil for the core. So it's
Okay.
what ratio is that? It's like 20 to 5. That's our ratio.
Yeah.
But you have to be very careful if you do that because the core gets very, very thin, right? So you have to be very precise when grinding because otherwise the core doesn't show, right?
And is it more difficult when you're working with the thicker stock? Would it be easier, even forging a Idamai, to start out with like a 2.5 millimeter? Is it less risky?
What do you mean less risk? I mean, the thicker the core, the easier it is to when you're grinding it, right? For obvious reasons, because then the core shows easier when you're
Yeah.
grinding it.
Yeah,
So the thicker the core, the easier it gets. But the thinner the core, the nicer it looks. At least in our opinion. I mean, it's a matter of taste, to be honest, right? But we don't like the core to be that thick when we do our laminated steels. So that's why we use 20 mil on the outside and 5 mil for the core. So
Also less hand sanding problems.
and also less hand sanding, especially if you're doing apex laminates. That might be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
even with the carbon diffusion from to the outer layer from apex makes it difficult to hand sand on some mice.
Yeah, but we always use like nickel,
Uh-huh.
right? A nickel carbon diffusion barrier.
Yeah, I try to do it too, but sometimes I just don't use it because when you lose some carbon, it gets less brittle in a way.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
the advantage. It's all about give or take in knife industry. You get some edge retention, but you lose toughness. You get
Mhm.
something, you lose something. Always something.
It's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
I also saw on your page that you had recently started or made a few razor blades. Is that something that you're gonna continue to make?
I have one of them on my desk right now. This one is stainless one. It was a fun project. I like wet shaving. I'm still not as good as a barber shop. I'm still using safety razor on most parts, but on the detail part, I use my razors.
And the ones you had online, I think they were Apex Ultra Core at least, or was the whole thing Apex?
Yeah, Apex Ultra Mono Steel, just Apex.
Albert, have you ever made a razor before?
No. How does Apex Ultra do as a razor blade steel?
I think it performed well.
Because it takes such a fine edge, or why did you go for Apex?
It was really hard to sharpen it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have a smaller tool on my belt grinder. My
Smaller wheel.
radius, my wheel radius is 30 centimeters, but I should have 15 centimeter radius wheel. That made my razors a little bit thinner than I expected, but on the edge part, I went up until 5,000 grit stone, and then I have some sanding papers that goes up to 12,000, and then they were sharp, but it took about like a day to sharpen it, to make it shave sharp. Yeah, it was cutting hair from the beginning, but to be able to get your cheeks like a baby ass, you need to go way up high grits.
But the reason you chose Apex Ultra Steel was because of the hardness
Yeah, the
factor of
hardness.
it, or
I asked a person I know about razors, and he asked about is Apex Ultra is suitable for this, and he said I never used that steel, and I said it's really hard, and he said try. Hardness is good on a razor, and if I push my nail on the edge of Apex Ultra razor, it bends and gets back to its original position. It doesn't change.
Mhm.
It's really thin. It makes a ting noise when you put on a spring.
What is the normal choice for a razor blade steel? I'm not really familiar with them.
Mostly carbon
Is that
steels.
something you know?
Solingen makes best straight razors, I think. And they use stainless steel and carbon steel, but mostly carbon steel. But low alloy ones.
Mhm.
Apex is a little bit on the high alloy scale.
So you must be grinding wet because those hollows get pretty thin, those hollow grinds.
Yeah, hand sanding Apex is really hard, and
Yeah.
imagine doing razor thin.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But good steel though.
So how is the like custom knife industry? What does that look like in Turkey? Is that hard to sell your knives there? Do you sell them in other countries, or
Uh,
do you have any problems with that?
how should I put this? It's different in Turkey because I'm using the steels that no one offers in Turkey, and I'm charging a little bit higher than other makers. So people often say, "Yeah, this is so expensive. Why is it?" And I'm saying
Mhm.
because of this material or
Yeah.
the hard work I'm putting into this. But people are looking for custom-made knives, but the economy is bad, so it's not good for people who's working with hand in Turkey
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah.
In every industry, not just knives. In every industry in Turkey, it's hard because of the economy.
Yeah, I don't know. Besides you and Mert Tanzu, I don't know of any other knife makers from Turkey. I'm sure there's a lot of them. We don't hear about it.
You know Mert Tansu?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him
the
personally. I
person
know of him.
asked about the razors were Mert.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but
And
he's
he-
living in Australia, I believe
Yeah,
now.
he lives in Australia, comes to Turkey once a year or less.
So have you worked with him before, or just spoken
No,
with
we
him?
are just chatting.
Mhm.
I really want to meet him in person someday.
Yeah, he makes some really nice kitchen knives.
Yeah, when I made my first Sanmai, I took some pictures and sent him and said, "I'm trying to make these. Can you help me?" I was in that level, and he was making great knives.
And so he made himself available and he helped you out. He was
Yeah,
giving you
he's
tips
always
and
so kind.
nice. Yeah, he used to do a podcast, but they haven't done it in a few years. It was an English speaking podcast from, I think it was called Knife Makers Down Under.
I never
So
heard of
maybe I think Albert might have fallen asleep on us.
Albert.
He was also just finishing up. I bet you he probably just went out to check on the concrete slabs. Maybe he's out there sanding
Yeah, yeah.
before they dry up on him.
A couple days ago, I was like him to check my concrete mold on my ribbon forge.
Yeah. So you said they ended up cracking on you. Have you figured out
Yeah.
why?
I think I didn't use any sand. I used 100% cement.
Yeah.
And it's high temperature refractory cement. But I think there's a thing about it, and I'm gonna figure it out in a way.
So the other host who couldn't make it today, he makes all the ribbon burners for me. He's got the process down pretty well, so I'm sure if you had any questions, he'd be willing to give you a couple of pointers. He's been making quite a bit of them, so.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Yeah, this is just a prototype for now, but when I come back from ship a few months later, I'm gonna build a proper one.
And what kind of a mold are you using? Is you 3D printing something, or?
No, it's just wood. I drilled a wood with holes and put some straws in them, close it, and then pour the cement.
I wonder if the wood is pulling out all the moisture out of the cement while it's drying.
I don't know. It's a fast drying cement. Maybe that's why. It can be worked up on until like 1,400 degrees Celsius, but it has cracks. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the same temperature that the cement he's using is rated for too, so it should be fine for forging. I'm not sure why it's
but
cracking.
I'm just using the cement, so maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should put something else in the mix.
We'll have to ask Matt, see what he says.
But it's already. I'm trying and it's not leaking gas outside. So I'm gonna try it tomorrow with steel in it and see its performance more.
So are you using the same forge that we can see in your videos? You're just changing it to a ribbon burner, or have you started to build a new one?
It's a small forge. My ribbon burner got a little bit big for this apply, but it's just experimenting. I like to do my own stuff. In Turkey, everything is so expensive, or you cannot find the things you are looking for. Even for like the throttle valve, you know, the needle valves on the gas line, I couldn't find it, or the ones I found were too expensive.
You mean the valve to regulate the airflow? Yeah, they're quite expensive here too. If you buy just one, like a 2-inch, it's called a gate valve. They're about 45 euros a piece here.
No, I already have a regulator on the propane tank.
Yeah.
But after that, I want a throttle valve on the ribbon burner to adjust gas flow a little bit better.
Okay.
But right now I'm just using a globe valve.
So those are called a needle valve.
Yeah,
so you
needle
can
valve.
really control the gas flow very precisely.
But I cannot find it anywhere in Turkey, or even for my rolling mill machine.
Yeah.
I cannot find some parts or go to some people with latte machines, freezer machines, and they are not getting what I'm telling them about and saying this cannot be done or this is wrong. And I'm saying them, this is the way to do it, just do it. And they are saying, I'm not gonna do it, find someone else. It's really hard to make something in Turkey.
So you guys obviously have Amazon, right? You know what that is?
Yeah, we have Amazon.
At least for us, those needle valves you can buy on Amazon, they're about 7 or 8 euros a piece.
Yeah, but when I try to buy it with the taxes and everything, it gets like 20 or 30 euros.
Yeah.
That's why it's fucked up. And I said, I'm not gonna pay this much. I'm gonna get a cheap one.
So Koray, is it hard to get knife material stuff in Turkey?
Material wise, it's not that common, and you cannot find many things. Like, I get silver steel, I get L6, I get some tungsten alloyed high carbon steels, but they all are thick stock, not thin. You have to forge it first to make it thin, and then I'm using canister to forge weld them. If I get some tin stock, it would be easier, but there are no tin stocks on those steels. That's why it's hard to make knives from those.
But why is that?
Turkey.
Aren't there that many knife makers in Turkey? What's the explanation for why it's hard to get? Like,
yeah, there are many knife makers, but they are using blank steel, that plate sheet metal, and they are just cold press and cutting the material and grind, heat treat, sell. They are mass-produced knives mostly, or laser cut.
So this is why you want to build a rolling mill, so you can get that stock down.
Yeah, it's really giving my arms many ache. Yeah, it hurts a lot on the nights because all the forging by hand is really hard. I envy what was his name? Benjamin Camel. His rolling mill is amazing.
So I think Ben has the Tobin Machines rolling mill, right? Do you mean Tobias Hangler? He has a gigantic rolling mill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tobias. He was Tobias. Yeah.
Does Ben have? I think Ben doesn't even have a rolling mill, does he? Keith.
I thought he had the Tobin Machine ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he has a Tobin and Tobias
has a big one. Yeah. Now that you say it, I remember.
Yeah, the one that Tobias has, I think the roller themselves are like 30, 40 centimeters. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really big. You cannot
No, you
move
No.
that
can't.
thing.
No.
No. But I think for most people, the Tobin machine doesn't take up as much room, and it's a very powerful machine. And he's got nice features on there with all the safeties and with the reverse option on it. And he's working on getting some new rollers so that you can do a pattern in it, like a raindrop pattern right away from the roller and stuff like that.
For small-scale forgers like us, not the industry scale, Tobin machine made a really good rolling mill.
There even is an upgrade kit now that you can install a DRO, so a digital readout to your rolling mill for the thickness. Yeah, we installed
really?
ours because the normal scale isn't that accurate because the top roller moves a bit, right? The DRO is much more accurate, so we installed ours and it's way better now. Do you know what I mean?
Does the top wheel does it move for a safety reason, or that's just like
No,
some
because
play that's
there's
in
like there's a play in the spindle. That's why it
Okay.
moves.
Yeah.
So if you set it to 3 millimeters and you put like a 4 millimeter billet in there, it moves up a bit, and then the billet is not 3 millimeters, right? It's 3 point something.
It has
Yeah,
something
but
like
with
a
a
backlash.
DRO, since we've installed our DRO, you can actually see it in the DRO, right? So you put a 4 millimeter billet in there, and you set it to 3 millimeters. But once you put it in there, the DRO jumps to like 3.5 millimeters or something, right? So so the DRO makes for much more accurate billet thickness, and he offers that as an upgrade. So it's not even that expensive. It's a few €100. You have to do some
Not very
wiring, but that's it. But it's a good machine.
Yeah, takes a lot of work.
Yeah. And it's very compact. That's why we love it. We put ours on wheels, so we can move it around the shop.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like 7 or 8 thousand euros.
Yeah,
on
something like
Tobin
that.
machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And if I try to get it to Turkey, it will be
Yeah.
twice. So I'm sending my regards, Tobin. But I'm gonna make my own rolling mill.
Yeah, Albert, you guys made one a long time ago, right? But it was a different style, like the foot operated one.
Yeah, it was with the foot pedal. Yeah.
Ah, really? Which
was
are
also
cool.
a nice machine, but much less powerful than Tobin's rolling mill.
Mine will not be powerful as Tobin's too, I think.
But for rolling billets to thickness and for surface finishing billets, it was a great machine. Yeah, but we've sold it because now we have Tobin's rolling mill, and we've never used the old one. So
Yeah, I think for a hobbyist shop, the foot pedal one is probably enough if you can build it yourself. But you guys are doing classes and moving a lot more knives than the average person would be.
But it's not that easy to build, to be honest, because you have to have a lathe, right, for turning all the round parts and stuff. It's not that easy, I think. But yeah, it's an affordable and very useful machine if you can build it yourself. That's for sure. Yeah.
If you want to work on larger scale of steel, you have to get this kind of machine.
Yeah.
And you work more precise. Let's say you want the steel to be 2.8 millimeters. You just adjust the rolling mill and
exactly, yeah.
steel.
Especially if you sell to stock removal guys. So if you do Damascus or make Damascus steel, and you want to sell it to stock removal people, it should be straight and with an even thickness, right? So
yeah, without the scale marks.
Exactly, and preferably even sometimes even surface ground. So
people ask me if I do some Damascus billets for them to stock removal, and I'm saying no because it's so painful for me to forge that with that power hammer, and I'm not selling those billets. I'm just using for my own.
Right now you're.
Because it's
Right
so
now
hard
you're in a
to
good
make.
position.
But if I had a turbine machine rolling mill, I would be bestseller in Turkey, I think.
But right now you're in a good position if you're the only guy that has these certain kinds of steels, and you're the only guy making your own Damascus like that, or one of the only.
Yeah, there are not many crazy people out there in Turkey. Yeah, there are some great bladesmiths, but they don't forge thick stock to thin stocks and then forge weld them, or they just use 15 and 20. But I'm using L6 or Böhler K600 that has 4% nickel in it. I'm not using 15 and 20.
So besides the rolling mill project, do you have any other projects that you are working on or plan to be working on in the future?
A new coal forge, a new propane forge, those kind of things. And my workshop is old. It's almost like 30 years old, and I want to make some renovations in it, but it needs a lot of money, so I'm going back to ship to invest some money to my atelier.
So upgrading the shop and upgrading equipment.
Yeah, it takes time, it takes money, and I'm not in a hurry. I just like to do artisan knives in a way. I don't like to work on stock knives or basic things. I like to forge it, temper it on my own kiln, and everything has a story in it. You pay attention, you give your time to it, and there's a reward by cutting something with it, and you can use it for years. That's all that matters. It's not a knife that you buy from a retail market. It's handmade.
And do you have a website where people could place orders, or do you do all your sales through Instagram?
Yeah, right now they all are from Instagram. I wanted to open a website, but couldn't finish it. Maybe next year.
That's a lot of work.
So right now just Instagram.
And what's your Instagram name so people can get a hold of you and find you?
It's Idamai Forge. It's hard to find, I think.
So
let me explain it again. Ida means Ida Mountains, that in the antique Greek mythological mountain Ida, and you know Mai in Japanese means layer, so you have Ida Mai, Ida layer, and forge, Idamai Forge. It used to be Ida Perforge when my father was doing Perforge works. So I just replaced Per with Mai.
Nice. What do you guys think? Is that a show, Albert? You got enough between all the times that we got stuck and dropped out and started again?
Yeah, we have like 4 or 5 recordings. So
yeah, after editing.
But Albert's really good at it. He'll put something together. It'll be good.
Yeah, I'm really curious about what you're gonna get this.
I'll make it work.
Nice. So we have I haven't told you yet, Albert, but we have a guest that owns a knife retail shop that will be joining us in January to record, so we can talk a little bit about the knife retail industry and maybe how Instagram's little bans and all that kind of stuff might have affected their sales or increased their sales. So that should be a good, nice little
who
talk.
are we talking about? Who are we talking about?
Yeah, no, we can't talk about that now. People are gonna have to wait. Keep listening to the show.
But
Come back.
Come on, come on, tell me.
I can tell you at the end of the show,
Okay.
which we're at anyway. So I want to thank Idamai Forge for joining us. It was nice
Thank
talking
you,
to you,
yeah.
and learning about your knives and your
thank you,
forging
guys.
situation. It's always nice to have somebody out of Austria and Germany. That seems to be all of our guests lately, but I'd like to get
That's
some
right,
more
yeah.
European guests. All right, we will talk to you guys then next week.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, see you again, guys. Nice to
Thanks.
meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to
Yeah.
talk with you.
Bye.
Bye bye.